Большой достаточно объем в 15 тысяч работ загрузили внутрь системы, внутрь машины, используя открытый код, создали более понятную, более подходящий для этого момента интерфейс или работу, программу. И закончилось все тем, что одна из этих работ, портрет семейства Белами, была продана Кристи за 432 тысячи долларов. Это первый прецедент такой дорогой продажи работы, сделанной с помощью искусственного интеллекта. И, то есть, руками они не сделали ничего, чтобы вы понимали контекст нашей беседы. И я заранее прошу прощения, мы всегда в таких общих дискуссиях, широких дискуссиях с большим количеством зрителей не всегда знаем, насколько глубоко вы погружены в проблему, поэтому, может быть, что-то вам уже будет хорошо известно, но мы надеемся, что все-таки эта дискуссия будет полезной, и этот разговор останется у вас в памяти. Так вот, второе, что случилось, Государственный Эрмитаж этим летом проводил выставку, которая называлась «Диалог культуры и искусственный интеллект», и в Государственном Эрмитаже несколько работ из этой серии семьи Белами были выставлены наряду с другими работами художников, работающих с помощью искусственного интеллекта. И это, в общем, такие два громких прецедента. И становится понятно, что больше уже говорить о том, что искусственный интеллект в искусстве ничего не значит, мы не имеем права. Он значит, и это действительно то, с чем нам нужно научиться работать, нам надо понять, как к этому относиться, нам надо как-то уже с этими вопросами определяться. Что касается Марио Клингемана, который сегодня здесь, то сразу после того, как произошла эта продажа Obvious, одна из его работ была оценена в 40 тысяч фунтов стерлингов, и она сделана немножко другим способом, и об этом Марио расскажет. В общем, отказываться и говорить, что искусственный интеллект не влияет на нашу жизнь, в том числе в сфере культуры, мне кажется, уже бессмысленно. Я думаю, что мы на этом все сойдемся в начале нашей беседы. Это уже неотвратимо, это случилось. Давайте теперь будем решать, как нам дальше с этим быть, как нам к этому относиться, что мы должны сделать. Вот сегодня мы говорим в контексте механизация это или творчество. Примерно такое вступление. У нас будет немного вступительных слов от каждого участника дискуссии. После этого будет открытый диалог. Я надеюсь, что вы в нем тоже примете активное участие. Марио, я хотел бы дать слово вам в первую очередь, просто для того, чтобы мы могли представить себе, как генерально работает искусственный интеллект в вашем случае и как вы с его помощью создаете произведение искусства.
Thank you, Alexander, and thank you for having me here today. I must warn you, the next 5 minutes will be a bit overwhelming, I might fear, because I try to explain you a little bit about my art, and as we heard, AI is hard to understand, and especially once you go deeper into it. It's called neurography, and what that is in a second. And yes, if you have been following the media, you might get the impression that AI art is about very low resolution, kind of blotchy, weird things that look like paintings a bit, and that this is all AI art is about. And unfortunately, I dare to differ. It's more than that, and low resolution thumbnail things is not kind of the main point about it. So yes, I've been working with deep learning and these techniques that allow me to create, find images since it's possible, which is about since 4 years. And I've been creating works that look like this. I'm also in the portrait field because, of course, portraits are highly interesting for us. But I'm also delving into all kinds of other directions because that's kind of the interestingness about working with AI to find new aesthetics, find new kind of visuals. So a few more examples. This is called The Butcher's Son. Actually, I won the Lumen Prize with this, and people always say it reminds them of Francis Bacon, which on one side is kind of a nice compliment. On the other side, it's something like that haunts me all the time because I'm not the only person who gets this reference. Interestingly, well, there is a link which I might go into quickly later. More of this. This is currently one of my favorites, Flash Formation, and you can already see that low resolution is not a prerequisite. You can go deeper. You can create images that are, yeah, seem photographic or something in between, which is exactly where I'm trying to get to. But we also heard the term generative adversarial neural networks, which is one of the tools that everybody uses. And we might think that this is what AI art is about, but actually the most important part, and that is where it gets a bit difficult, is the latent spaces. So what is a latent space? A latent space is kind of a virtual room or a virtual space that each model that you train learns. It's kind of its own abstract understanding of the training data you gave it. And these spaces are, on one hand, well, understandable to us because they show certain features that we recognize, textures, forms, and shapes. But on the other hand, they are very abstract and difficult for us to understand. At the same time, these spaces are continuous and they mix semantics with style. And they are almost infinite, but at the same time they are limited by the training data you give it to. And so for me, AI art is about understanding these spaces and traveling in them and making discoveries. So this is called the latent free body problem, and what you see is 3 virtual cameras that fly through this space, but at the same time they are kind of exerting gravity on each other like three planets or 3 astral bodies, only that due to those forces they make chaotic paths through this space, and while you think things are repeating, they are not, because, well, every time you move through this space in a different way, you get a little bit of a different view. So the other thing is, because this space is so huge, theoretically, even in a model that has never seen a certain image, any image might exist, just like on a digital bitmap has the potential to show every image that never exists. The problem is there are just too many combinations, and most of them are just noise and uninteresting. But you can go through this space and try to find something. But this task is almost as difficult as if I gave you some photo of St. Petersburg and asked you to find exactly that shot on Google Street View. So you would have to think like, and I show you some window, so you would go through the streets and try to find that window. So you like have to think, how get I closer to that? Or even better, I give you a Rembrandt painting and you have to find it on Google Street View. So you have to have some semantic knowledge about this space, knowing paintings are usually inside of buildings and they are museums. And the same thing works in these neural networks. And to get to something, you have to, and you can try to tweak that model to have a semantic understanding and get closer to, well, in this case, to this weird cute dog. But as you already saw, that pathway it took started from, I don't know, some weird household equipment. And then it went through dog space, which is already semantically closer to the result, even if the images don't match. And this is where it gets interesting, because yeah, you work with these models and you try to find a common language between what I want and what the model wants. And at the same time, you have to also go with what the model gives you. If you try to force it, you will be in a world of pain. Another simple example is like I try to find if the Mona Lisa, which is of course the classic kind of hello world of art, is in these spaces. And like, let's say I want to head for the Mona Lisa, the straight line approach would be, okay, just try to match the pixels. And that gives you something very boring. But I can write a tool that does this on a more intelligent level and tries to work with textures and shapes and persons, and in an evolutionary fashion it goes through this space. So it searches for me. I send out these drones which try to find images that get in some way close to the Mona Lisa, and none of them match. But if you know what it is, then you can see, yeah, there might be some resemblance. It might not be my goal, but it might also be interesting. Another example, no, I see a female there, the colors don't match at all. Or another one, it looks painterly, it's probably a woman, it's some kind of landscape. It's in the same space, and it's not the Mona Lisa, but it might be actually something that I might like much more than that painting. Or if the model only gets a certain category, it will try to rebuild the Mona Lisa from furniture. So what I'm saying is, in the end you might have a goal in this, but on that route to that goal, you might find something much more interesting. And that's pretty much what creativity is for me about. That like the straight line usually is not like the solution, the answer. It's rather what you find on that journey. And coming back to Francis Bacon, I feel in my work, I'm very much like thinking like a classic artist. And he said, because what I call accident may give you some mark that seems to be more real, truer to the image than another one. But it's only your critical sense that can select it. So I'm looking for accidents, but then in the end, I am still the artist who has to decide among the millions of possibilities, which is what I want to bring to the light, what I want to show. And so yes, so it's the art of not meeting expectations, because like when the audience sees something, you make kind of a guess what comes next, for example. And if that actually happens, if what you expect comes next, then you are actually getting bored. It's like a story where, well, you know the framework, but in the end you want something else to happen than what you expect. You want surprise, and that's kind of what these models help you to do. So one way to get kind of these accidents to happen and models to kind of get a life of their own is to create feedback loops. So what you see here is an example of several neural networks I pipe together, which interpret their own output but misinterpret it, but they are still kind of locked into that portrait space which I trained them on. But what you see here is just the model playing by itself. It traverses this space and gives you these painterly looking faces. And I like feedback loops a lot because they also happen in our world, and for me they are an important source of getting something out from the outside, or having little errors and things influence the direction of the whole system. And so the question is, how do I put something like this into a piece of art that can be sold?